6 months ago, a mentally ill young man with an AR-15 shot and killed 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary School. In the aftermath of the shooting, the nation was justifiably outraged. Well, I should be very clear here. The vast majority of us were outraged. The NRA's executive board, headed by Wayne LaPierre, I can't really say what their reaction was, but it certainly wasn't outrage. They immediately began scrambling their forces to sabotage any earnest effort to tighten up gun laws as a response to the tragedy. You would think that if anything would get our elected officials to stand up to a bunch of profiteering scumbags like the NRA's board, it would be the nightmare of bullets and blood that ended those children's lives. You'd be wrong, though. The NRA managed to spread a lie about the Toomey Manchin bipartisan background check bill that it would lead to a national registry. And if there's one thing John Q. gun-hoarding can't stand, it's the idea of the country knowing that he has a gun. Well, except for the 15 pictures a day he posts on his Facebook page, but he's doing that voluntarily, damn it! So, with the gun zealots in a lather over a gun registry, which the amendment specifically outlawed, just enough Republican senators were intimidated into not backing the amendment, and it died short of the 60-vote mark prescribed in the Constitution. Oh wait, no. That's just a threshold established by obstructionist ass-clowns on the right. My apologies. In the 6 months since the shooting at Newtown, thousands of people have died and been injured by guns, and yet the message coming out of gun hoarder land is, nothing wrong here, keep moving, nothing to see. The problem for that crowd, though? There's a lot to see. For instance, you can see that Santa Monica College just saw a dramatic and violent conclusion to a shooting rampage that started in the surrounding area and ended on the campus of the city college. You can see it in the story of a man in Arizona who brought his 4-year-old son to a friend's house and wound up being accidentally shot when his child found his friend's gun and discharged it into his father. Or you can get really depressed reading a story about 2 shootings involving 2 different 4-year-old kids in 2 different states in a single 3-day span. Does that drive home just how much of a problem with guns we have in this country? No? Then let's try one more. How about 12 people being shot in 6 hours in Chicago? Something's got to give. I know we're probably never going to get to the point where we can ask people to hand in any guns they don't really need. You know, keep a couple for your protection and hunting purposes, and then hand over the rest of the cash. But we have to fix this issue from every angle possible. You want to talk about mental health issues? Fine, but you'd better be willing to move to a universal healthcare system because good luck paying for the kinds of sweeping overhauls and widely available mental health care facilities that are going to be needed without one. Want to enforce already existing laws better? Great, I'm all for that. But I hope you're willing to pay higher taxes so we can hire more police officers and public defenders. We also cannot be deterred in writing the kinds of common-sense laws that are needed to curb the flow of guns into the black market, as well as encourage responsible gun ownership. The numbers have been shouted so many times, but it bears repeating. Far more people have died in this country as a result of gun crime or accidents than have died in all the terrorist attacks of the last decade combined. Shouldn't the real Department of Homeland Security be working with legislators to draft a federal trafficking law or some other form of gun legislation that helps make tracking down illegal firearms easier? Nothing is more frustrating for me than watching America not learn from its mistakes. We can't ban all guns, and we can't ignore the problem and hope it goes away. The worst part about all of the scandals that are rocking Washington right now is that they completely distract us from the issues we knew we had to fix just 6 months ago. Sandy Hook was, and still is, the wake-up call this country needs. Yes, I'm worried about just how much we let the NSA swoop up without warrants, But while we're wringing our hands over government programs that we all pretty much just assumed existed anyway, dozens upon dozens of our fellow Americans are dying needlessly because we can't tell the gun lobby to go themselves. If we don't hold Congress accountable, if by next November we have simply shrugged our shoulders on gun control, shame on us. Honestly, making this video has been more of a cathartic exercise than anything else, but the facts of the case remain the same. Gun ownership is on the decline, though gun stockpiling is on the rise. Fewer people are buying guns, it's just that they're not stopping with one gun or two. We are being victimized daily by a corporate lobbying interest masquerading as a citizens' rights group. The NRA derives its power from making uninformed, paranoid assholes even more paranoid and as uninformed as possible. We are a country of the overwhelming majority being held hostage by a dangerous and frankly sociopathic fringe minority. You'll hear their side bleat on and on about the fact that this country was founded on the notion of the minority being protected from the tyranny of the majority. This country was founded on the notion that there are no majorities or minorities, that we are all equal. That said, the men who founded this country, flawed as they were, saw to it to entwine the will of the people, the majority, with the powers of government. The majority does, in fact, rule. You don't win the presidency with the fewest electoral votes. You don't pass legislation with less than a plurality. The side with the most votes wins, period. We have, most certainly over time, had to stand up for minority groups who are being denied access to true equality, but it's a fool's gambit to conflate issues of civil liberty with the dunderheaded obstruction of common sense laws that the NRA and a little over 40 United States senators have engaged in since Sandy Hook. There's a mile and a half of difference between a gay adult not being able to marry whomever they choose and a bunch of gun fetishists and slack-jawed morons stalling legislation that 90% of us want put in place. The question we have to pose to ourselves now is how we're going to reverse that trend and retake the issue as being in the majority opinion entitles us to. Yes, we still have a gun problem in this country, and unless and until we reassert our status over the members of Congress who think we serve them and not the other way around, the desires of the negligent and dangerous minority will out, and all the while the bodies pile up in vain.